let's talk about this idea of what is, circumstance driven versus what is vision driven.
Well, circumstance driven it's the way that we're taught to live. If you think about the traditional, the societal norms, right? You go to school, you get your degree, you go to college, you get the job, you get married, you have the kids. Like these are just kind of, and we are kind of taught that it has to be sequential like that we have to do this thing first and then we can get that thing. We can't have this unless we have the degree. We can't make this money unless we have this certain job. We can't do this until we do that.
Mhm.
um, and I really think we have it backwards. We have to decide what we do want and move toward that rather than letting all of the circumstances, because we can all day long, well, I can't do this because of that, I can't do this because of that. There are a lot. COVID, for instance, where we are still, I can't do this because of that, I can't do this but we don't have to live that way. And I really think, I actually had a client it was about a year ago in March when we were sent home. And she said, I kind of feel bad. I kind of feel a little guilty because I'm feeling really good. I feel like everybody around me is crumbling. She said, I feel like we've been in training for this, the moving, because she has a life vision. She
Mhm.
knows where she's going. And it's a blip, right? This period that we're in right now is a blip. I like to liken it to childbirth. It's painful, it's uncomfortable when you're going through it, but you know that it's going to end at some point. We don't know when, but it's going, it's a blip in our lives. Definitely go down in history. But the circumstances don't have to determine the way we experience life, the
Mm.
moving toward. We tend to focus on the things that we don't want, rather than the things that we do. Like I said in the beginning, when I first realized that, oh my gosh, he's getting this from me. So pulling apart my life, all of the things that I don't want, but I was still focusing on what I didn't want. When I changed directions and started focusing on what I did want, and kind of, I like to put it on and imagine it, put it on imaginally, and the feeling of how does it feel to have this life, to have this business, to have this podcast. My podcast it's been in my head for 6 years. How does it feel to have this podcast and to be having these amazing interviews? How does it feel to have this family life, these relationships, these experiences? When you're doing this, you're actually creating future memory for yourself, right? But our minds, our memory is amazing, and we can go back in our memory, but we can always also go forward. And it's the coolest thing, Hunter, when you have created a memory for yourself and then you experience it. It's like, oh my gosh, like I already know what this feels like. I've already created this experience for myself. So that's really what living a vision driven life is. It's making decisions for your life.
When I think about this idea of vision for myself, I think I gotta know what I want and know where I'm
Mhm.
going so that when I'm at a point of choice, I make the choice that is in service of that vision. So in
That's
our
exactly
family,
it.
my
Mhm.
husband, we decided 10 years ago that, or 6 years ago, that we didn't want him to work so much.
Yeah.
And there's a bunch of things we've done since then, but at one point we decided for him to cut back just on Fridays. So he
Mhm.
works Monday through Thursday, and then he doesn't work on Fridays. And it's
Right.
great,
Yeah.
and we may take that further, but it was like there was this point where it was like, oh, we can implement this thing from what we are wanting, right? What is that
Right.
vision? So is that what you're talking about? Like, let's
That's exactly
just
it.
dream big a little bit here.
Yeah. I mean, in some, I have a client who her vision is to live in a tiny house. She just wants minimalism, right? So it doesn't have to be this
Mm.
huge thing, but
Mhm.
it needs to be a stretch from where you are, right? Because you're going to need to take steps, uncomfortable steps. You want it to be a little uncomfortable, is you want it to be, if you're just kind of going parallel and you're just doing something a little bit different, that would be more like a goal. But a vision is bigger. A
Mm.
vision is, and that part of your vision about your husband working less, and really focusing on that, like what could we do, when like you said, When you know what you want, when you have decided what you want, you will know when, for one thing, it's the cure to overwhelm, right? When you have
Mm,
clarity, you're not saying yes to every single thing that comes your way because you're moving in a direction. So decision making is a breeze. Yes, that's for me. No, that's not for me. Like
mhm,
it's really so simple and subtle, but huge because
mhm,
let's say your husband was had a job offer and it was going to be that he was going to be, out of town or whatever. Like that would be a no because of your
mhm,
vision for your family, right? So it sounds so simple, and it is simple. It's just a different way. It's kind of a reframing how we think. But yeah, knowing what you want, then you know what to do. And I like to use the woman that you're becoming, or the family, the couple, whatever that you're becoming. I like to use her as your inner mentor. So she's already been through all this, right? Because there's usually a gap. There should be a gap between where you are and the woman that you're becoming, and using her as your inner mentor.
mm,
What would she do? What would she
mm,
have done? What would she have said? Who would
mhm,
she be hanging out with? Those kinds of things. Instead of, because she's not a place to get to, and she's not a goal to be reached. She's already in you, and you just become more of her. So it's, your vision, it has to come from who you are. Like I said earlier, my I was not putting my I wasn't honoring my core values. What's really important to me. Knowing your core values, it's all about self-awareness. I know you know about this, Hunter. That self-awareness is key in life, in being happy and being present.
Catch new episodes of the Mindful Mama podcast and other free resources, including the Mindful Mom Guide at mindfulmamamentor.com. You can listen to every back catalog episode, including interviews with Dr. Dan Siegel, Ianla Van Zant, Sharon Salzberg, and get meditations, join our private Facebook group, and more. Go to mindfulmamamentor.com now. I'll see you there.